Chris Scouser here with
Matt Howell. And this week on the first run, Chris, do we have another contender for surprise horror hit of the year so far? In the first quarter-ish of 2024? Well, we'll see when we talk about the vampire ballerina crime kid scary movie Abigail. Then we go back to the Snyderverse, dear Lord why, to go check out the next installment in the Rebel Moon franchise, air quotes, Rebel Moon the Scargiver. We give you the rundown on what's available on physical media, our straight to DVD and streaming picks of the week. Then we give you our top 5 favorite traitors from cinema history. So it sounds like it's going to be quite a doozy, Chris. So why don't you give the fine folks out there a little listen of Abigail.
Who's the girl?
You don't need to know her name.
I don't care about her name. Whose kid is she?
A very wealthy man who's about to be $50 million poorer. Look, you're safe here. And to be completely certain that you can't be tracked, I'm going to collect your cell phones.
Nobody's tracking me.
I'm not taking any chances. Give him over.
In the bag.
One second, I just gotta send this real quick. Thank you. Just, okay.
Thank you.
Keep the doors locked. And the girl isolated. See you in 24 hours, my lovely pack of rats.
Ooh, wait, that sounds ominous, Matt.
So ominous.
So what does what does Abigail all about? What is Abigail all about?
Well, as you heard, a group of criminals kidnap what they think is the daughter of a very wealthy man that they're going to extort for $50 million. Their only job is to keep an eye on her, make sure nothing happens to her, and keep her safe and in the house that she's at until the ransom can be paid. Well, it turns out Abigail's a vampire. And I don't think I'm spoiling anything because it's in the commercials and the trailer. And she's not trapped in there with them. They're trapped in there with her.
Matt, let me ask you about that. So is the film at all harmed by the big reveal in the trailer? Being in the trailer and the commercials and all that? How would the experience have been for you? Would it have been even better if you had no idea? You thought maybe it was just some kind of crime thriller? Or would that not have been enough of a hook? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I don't know how they sell this without revealing at least that part of it. I think, in theory, that would have made it better. But then how would you have gotten anybody into the theaters to see this? Because, I mean, your target audience, if they go in thinking that it's going to be some kind of crime thriller, and even if they, reveal that the characters are getting picked off one by one, they may think it's, a hitman or a ninja or whatever, when they, you really want people on there for vampires.
I like that, ninja. Here's the thing. I think I got it though. So what you do is you say, from Radio Silence, the directors of Ready or Not, meet Abigail, a beautiful young girl with a dark secret. And then you and that's all you mention, right? And then you go through all the crime stuff. You get people getting picked off, maybe somebody pulled into a dark room, whatever, that kind of thing. And now you don't know what it is, but there's something going on. I think that would have worked. I feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I didn't know that she was a vampire.
A vampire?
Yes.
Yes. Well, what's really interesting for me is I was doing a modicum of research on this, which I almost never do for any film that we look at. This is supposed to be a remake of Dracula's Daughter.
Yep. Well, but not at all. But
no, exactly. Yeah, I was like, where? I mean, just because it's Dracula's daughter, I guess. Like, spoiler alert. I don't know.
Yeah, because it doesn't really do anything to stick with the original story, from what I can recall. Now, I can't remember the last time I saw Dracula's Daughter. I remember that I think she is actually kind of, she's cheesed off that she's Dracula's daughter, and she actually wants to kill him. She's not a big fan of him. So, and there's a little bit of that here, but I mean, yes, and I think it's fun that we do get a little bit of well, the guy who's had many names throughout the century does show up. I guess it is a bit of a spoiler. They do kind of play it up that eventually you think that he will show up, so that's fine. And I like the casting choice for that. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's that guy. That's fun. And I want to say, Matt, that I think this film has quite a few genre heavy hitters, right? You got Barrera, you got Dan Stevens, you got Newton, you got Duran, you got Esposito. I think you got a lot of good people in here. Angus Cloud, from what I understand, who was from, what's the show there? He just passed away, unfortunately.
Euphoria.
Yeah, so I guess this was his last film, which is too bad. And they have a nice dedication to him in the film. But, Matt, as he kind of, Universal continues this reimagining of all their classic monster movies.
Yeah.
First, we tried to do the Dark Universe, right? And that just failed miserably with that Tom Cruise Mummy film. So we've kind of done something different. Like Lee Winnell's doing what he did, The Invisible Man, and he's doing Wolfman, I believe, next, right?
Okay, I think so. Sure.
So now we have Dracula's Daughter here by Radio Silence. How are you enjoying this version of the Universal Classic Monsters? How'd this work out for you?
So I thought this was fine. I mean, I appreciate them straying pretty far from the Universal Classic because they're cool, but they're not exactly of the times. Like, you can't really stick too close to them. And I thought The Invisible Man was really cool. I thought it was a good premise. I think I maybe would have leaned harder into the supernatural, I guess. But, I had fun with The Invisible Man a lot. I'd be curious to see what they do with The Wolfman. Dracula's Daughter is not by any means a classic for me. So I was fine with this. I was fine with them completely doing a completely different take. Now, it's the barest of DNA. Like, I don't even see how you have even a skeleton here of what the original was about. So even calling it a remake seems to be the stretchiest of stretch. But overall, I don't mind what they were trying to do. I don't know if this is completely successful, but it's fine. I mean, I've seen much worse horror films, much more offensively bad horror films. It's just, it's got its moments, and some of the actors are, fun to watch. I like to see them, and but for the most part, it's just not scary.
Yeah, I think they, as a unit, they gel together really well. I think that's pretty successful, and I agree with you that it's not overstuffed with scares. In fact, it may be overstuffed with some other ideas, and I think part of the issue too is that even the scares when they come, unfortunately, many of them are kind of just garden variety jump scares. So I will say, though, I think the gore in this is sharp and effective. And it's nice to kind of take the vampire lore and do something fun and different with it. I appreciated that. But I think it's more of a kind of violent vampire romp than it is like a straight horror film. All right? This is pretty cheeky at times.
This has much more in common with From Dusk Till Dawn than it does like Let the Right One In.
Right. And for me, it's kind of like, it's something of a turducken of a movie. But I think for the most part, it works really well. I think it barely holds its contents together because there's lots of little twists and turns and little different ideas and stuff that what is it? What's the guy's name again? Bettinelli, Olpin, and Gillette. I just know them as Radio Silence. I that's my own ignorance there. But it's just a lot of stuff that they try and jam in this to kind of, I don't know if they're compensating for the twist being revealed that she's a vampire in the promotional materials. And there is some stuff in here that we're not spoiling for that I think it's mostly fun and it mostly works. But man, there's a lot they're trying to pull off here. But for me, I think the humor stuff worked. Like when Sammy comes back with the bag of onions and Dan Stevens' reaction to that, I really enjoyed that. Lots of little moments like that throughout, but I think it's good enough, and I think it's worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, I think it's definitely entertaining. It was a good time. I mean, it's not groundbreaking at all. I don't think it's going to kind of make it into the list of, wow, that was a great horror film. But, as far as in horror action film with some comedy thrown in there, I mean, I thought it was overall entertaining. I'm not mad at it.
No. I really enjoy Melissa Barrera's work too. I enjoyed watching her. There's Dan Stevens. We raved about him just a couple of weeks ago with Godzilla and Kong there. And I've always been a big fan of Kevin Durant too. So I'm always happy when he pops up and stuff. Man, I'm giving Abigail a B-.
look at you. Well, hey, look at us. B minus. B minus across the board.
Look at us. Hey, look at us.
That's right. So there you go. B minuses across the board. If you'd like to see Abigail, it is currently playing in theaters. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts. Matt, let's go ahead and spend a few minutes talking about what's coming up on physical media this upcoming Tuesday. I'll be darned if I remember if I counted these off. I think we're okay. So let's start off, though, with a clip from... Oh, wait, no. I almost forgot. So I'm a big fan, if you haven't checked them out, folks, of R.M. Brown. That's Robert Michael, though I don't know actually what the R.M. stands for, on YouTube. Very funny, and he's been leaning heavily into this AI song generation engine. So for jokes, and I thought I would see what we could come up with for the physical media, a little theme song. So enjoy this disaster.
It's physical media picks time. Featuring the latest blues and 4Ks. Plus the streaming and Viper video picks of the week.
It just kind of ends there. I need to fade that out.
Yeah, that was amazing, Chris. That's
the new wave one.
That's the new wave one. Okay, very good.
So if you want, actually, technically, I think it was synth pop. But if there's a particular genre, Matt, you want to do, just give me a heads up. I was leaning towards maybe ranchero or something else that might be a lot of fun. I'm not sure.
Have you seen the? I don't know if it's the same guy, but he made an AI video about a cowboy going blind from the sun, and he's not, like a country song, and he's not going to be able to see titties anymore. That is
no.
From looking at the eclipse. He went blind from looking at the eclipse, and he's lamenting how he's not going to be able to look at titties anymore.
I have to check that out. Listen, I think AI is an abomination.
It is.
And but I got to admit, I enjoyed the hell out of that. So I feel bad for whomever they ripped that kind of music and that chord progression off from, but still. So there you go. If you want it, yeah, go ahead.
The thing I like about AI, it's fun when it's bad. I'm not looking forward to when it's like not, when you can't tell the difference. It's just soulless and you know something's wrong, but it sounds still pretty good. Like, it's funny when it's terrible.
Yeah, if you're trying to pass yourself off as legitimate art, then that's unacceptable. But if you're just a jag-off like me trying to come up with something funny, then I'm probably maybe a little bit okay with it. All right, here we go. Physical media being released in 4K. Enjoy this.
Gentlemen, welcome to Las Vegas. Is that right? Everybody eating? Good. Everybody sober? Close enough. All right, before we get started, nobody's on the line here yet. What I'm about to propose to you is both highly lucrative and highly dangerous. Now, if that doesn't seem like your particular brand of vodka, help yourself to as much food as you like and have a safe journey. No hard feelings. Otherwise, come with me.
And boy, did we go with them. Matt, that is a clip from Ocean's 11, being released in 4K. You can buy a triple pack of all three films. I don't know why you would. And you can buy them all individually as well. I had all three on DVD, and then I never upgraded them to Blu-ray. Though I did buy the HD. Like, I think iTunes had a sale on them. You get all three of them for like $7.99 at one point. So I just pulled the trigger on that because I was kind of waiting for a 4K. And if it hits that $15 mark, I will pick up Ocean's 11 in 4K. Though I don't think I'll ever watch the other two again in my life. The thing most frustrating about Ocean's 13 too is that was their attempt to make amends for how bad Ocean's 12 was, and it was still really bad.
But the first one is quite. It might be a perfect heist movie. It's so much fun.
Oh, I was obsessed with it when it first came out. I loved that film. So yeah, you can pick it up in 4K on April 30th. Also coming out here. Oh boy, I bet Matt's excited for this one.
Number 5.
Madam Web is being released in 4K as well as Blu-ray. Featurettes on the making of the film, gag reel, Easter eggs in his lead scene, and a steelbook as well. If you really like, Dakota Johnson in her suit in the air with the webs kind of standing in a little, okay.
4.
Mean Girls, the musical version, is being released in 4K. And you know what? The original Mean Girls is being released as well in 4K with a burn book limited edition slipcover. Now I'll tell you that original Mean Girls movie, I think is actually pretty damn fun. It's very funny and it's a fun little film. But you can pick this one up. A couple making of featurettes, interviews with Tina Fey, gag reel, extended scenes, music video, and a sing along with select songs on the film is included as well.
Can you hit it from there?
I got 3 shots. That's enough.
Can't argue with a confident man.
Criterion is putting out Dogfight, Matt. This is the River Phoenix Lily Taylor film about aspiring San Francisco folk singer who was played by Lily Taylor named Rose, and a hot-headed Vietnam-bound Marine, Eddie, that's River Phoenix, who meet on the occasion of a cruelly misogynistic party where men compete to bring the most unattractive dates they can find. But what begins as a night to forget unexpectedly develops into something far more meaningful, featuring music by folk legends Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, and Pete Seeger. Includes a brand new 2K restoration supervised by the director Nancy Savaca, audio commentary featuring her, new interviews, and more. And then I guess that's all I had. So I guess we'll make this number 1. Or, you know what, I'll choose one of the 4K picks as our number 1, all right?
Looks like we're shy of 1 horse. You brought too many.
Matt, I already actually pre-ordered this off of Shout Factory. I have a weird affection. I think I saw this movie once so long ago. I've never seen the uncut version. But The Getaway, this is the remake, though, with Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger and James Woods. It's included here by Shout Factory. It's a limited edition run. There's only going to be 2010. It's a weird number. 2010 copies made for this. Includes a brand new audio commentary and new interviews with the author, screenwriter, as well as the composer, Mark Isham, the composer there. Behind the scenes, making a featurette, archival interviews with Baldwin and Basinger as well. So I jumped on that one. And you know what I did too? I selected, what did I get? I got something else too to not pay for the free shipping. Or get the free shipping. Oh, I pre-ordered RoboCop 2 in 4K. So brand new 4K transfer of that. That one's not coming out though, I think, until another month. But so I'll have to wait probably. But still, I'm a big fan of RoboCop 2 just because of how violent it was. Folks, if you weren't alive back then, there were people asking for that film to be banned, like pulled out of the theaters, because there was a kid who shot people and enjoyed it. And that was really a bit too much for some people. All right, Matt, what else are we going to come out with? Let me give you, I guess this will, sure. What the hell? This will be the number 1. Since there can be only one. The air quotes classic basket case is being released in 4K, Matt. I remember watching this on USA Saturday Nightmares. I picked up the Blu-ray that Arrow put out about 3 years ago. And I haven't watched it, of course. I still need to follow up with it. But I remember loving this film with Belial. Are you familiar with the basket case? Did you ever see the original?
I've never seen it, but I'm familiar with it.
All right. And I picked up parts 2 and 3 as well at Viper Video. He had them used for like $9 a piece, and I've never seen them. So I grabbed those too. Maybe I'll have to do a basket case marathon at some point. But you get a brand new 4K restoration of that by MoMA? Really? MoMA? Museum of... That can't be right. And then this thing is stacked, Matt, with featurettes. There's a feature-length documentary, interviews, Slash of the Knife from 1976. There's a 30-minute short film that Frank Henenlotter made. A whole bunch of stuff. So you're a big fan of Basket Case. You're going to want to pick this one up in 4K. Severin is putting out a couple Michel Sauvé films. I have these pre-ordered with Viper Video as well. He got the Blu-rays. He didn't get the 4Ks in, unfortunately, yet. So hopefully they'll come in the next couple days. The Church with a brand new 4K restoration, as well as The Sect, both being released. A whole ton of new interviews here. That seems to be the big thing now with special features, is just interviews, which kind of a bit of a cop-out, I think, but that's fine. It's easier to set up an interview, I guess, than to track down and make old archival stuff or make brand new documentaries. But I always really enjoyed The Church, and I haven't seen The Sect, but I've always liked his work. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, Matt, being released in 4K and Blu-ray, but only in Steelbooks, Matt. Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Moon Knight, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So Disney's pushing out a bunch of Steelbooks for you. And then finally, the standard editions of Arrow's 4K Conan movies are being released. You don't have to buy the big box versions with the book and everything else. You can get the standalone 4Ks now. Matt, your Viper Video pick of the week is going to be Slugs. That's right. I said Slugs. It's being released, or it's not being released. It has been released by Arrow. And Matt, people are dying mysteriously and gruesomely, and nobody has a clue what the cause is. Only the health inspector, Mike Brady, has a possible solution, Matt. And that is, well, no, what is his solution? I lost my track. But his theory of killer slugs is laughed at by the authorities. Only when the body count begins to, you know what the problem is? I'm trying to do two things at once. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Because I forgot to pull up the website. I know it's Viper Video Tampa, but I'm not 100%, so I'm pulling it up right now. Because I'm a bad fan. I'm a bad fan. And that is exactly what it is. I got to trust my instinct, Matt. You ready? Let's reset. You can edit this if you want or leave it in so I sound like an idiot. People are dying mysteriously and gruesomely, Matt, and nobody has a clue what the cause is. Only health worker Mike Brady has a possible solution. But his theory, killer slugs, is laughed at by the authorities. Only when the body count begins to rise and a slug expert from England begins snooping around does it begin to look like Mike had the right idea after all. You can pick that up right now at vipervideotampa.com. It is a favorite of the owner Shelby's. And I've never seen slugs. You know what's funny is the whole time when he was talking about it, I was confusing it with Squirm, which is the one with the irradiated worms that kill everybody. And then I'm thinking about, wait a minute, they're not slugs, they're worms in that movie. So what am I thinking of? And I've totally forgotten about slugs. Matt, what should we be streaming this week?
So I'm going to recommend a influential, maybe controversial documentary. The Thin Blue Line by Errol Morris is available on Netflix and Criterion, if you're one of the few people who have the Criterion network. It tells a story about a man who was convicted of a murder, and essentially the documentarian filmmaker, he investigates, and it turns out that maybe he's innocent, or at least maybe the people that were used to convict him were not telling the truth.
Right.
It's an interesting story for a couple reasons. One, it kind of pioneered this idea of a talking head that was followed up by recreations of past events, which had not been done in documentary film at the time. And then, of course, the reception and the buzz around it caused the subject to get a retrial because it seemed likely that they committed perjury while they were on the stand, or the witnesses against him. And he basically got his life sentence overturned as the prosecutor declined to retry his case, so he was set free after first being sentenced to death, then being put on life in prison, and then he finally got let go.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. But you at least have to watch this to at least really truly appreciate one of my favorite episodes of documentary now, the I Don't Lie, where it spoofs this, and I absolutely adore that episode, but to really appreciate it, you got to watch this movie first.
Yeah, Thin Blue Line is great. I saw it years ago, so I think we did it for the show.
Yeah, we did do it for the show. We did like a documentary marathon, I think.
Yeah, Matt twisted my arm to get me to agree to that one, so there you go. All right, Matt, let's wrap it up. Not wrap it up. We're going to move on to the next segment. We're going to spend a few minutes and talk about Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver.
Where is everyone?
How would you feel? A lot of you, if you were not capable of standing to protect your own home. Mm-hmm. If you had to ask others to lay down their lives for you.
They should see there's no shame in our being here. To swallow their pride enough to even ask for help, that is bravery itself.
Thank you.
Yes.
And as it happens, nobody need lay down their lives. A defense won't be necessary. Admiral Noble is dead.
What? He's dead? Really?
You might need to say it again. He doesn't believe it. He's dead.
You do not believe that they will return?
I don't. It's Imperial protocol, in the event of an Admiral's death, to return to the Mother World at once.
Then we owe you an even deeper debt of
You're
gratitude.
wrong. I just received word. They'll be here in 5 days.
Oh, well, shit. So, Matt, Rebel Moon 2, or Part 2, The Scargiver. And one thing that upsets me is that I don't know if I just put it out of my mind or if I just didn't know that this is going to keep going. I thought we were wrapping stuff up here, but this is just Part 2.
Yeah, I think Snyder has ambitions to make more of these. I don't know if necessarily, especially with the way the first one went when they tried to release it theatrically and how this one is going, if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I wish me... Oh, wait, do I have it? I do have it. This is made me think of this.
What's the point?
So, I'm watching this film, and it's so derivative of so many things we've seen in the past. What I thought I would do is ask ChatGPT to write a review of Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, and we're going to redline this right now. All right, Matt, here we go. Rebel Moon, because if he's going to crib from a whole bunch of stuff and then try and just make it cooler, then that's what I'm going to do here, I guess, right? I said make it cooler when I did that. Rebel Moon, The Scargiver is an electrifying cinematic journey that pushes the boundaries of the science fiction genre. I think we have to redline that right out. Electrifying cinematic journey that pushes the boundaries of... No. Directed by visionary filmmaker, insert director's name. This film transports audiences to a distant future where humanity's survival hangs in the balance against a ruthless empire. I mean, it's a planet, not all of humanity. So we'll say just a planet's folks.
A moon, if you will. A rebellious moon, if you will.
Oh, I like that. Set against the backdrop of an interstellar conflict, Rebel Moon, The Scargiver follows the journey of a group of rebels led by a courageous protagonist, portrayed brilliantly by insert lead actor and or actress. Their mission to overthrow the oppressive regime takes them on a thrilling adventure filled with jaw-dropping action sequences. No. Just say with action sequences. Stunning some stunning visual effects, I think is fair. And then thought-provoking no. I'm going to get rid of that thought-provoking themes part. One of the film's standout elements is its world building. From the sprawling landscape of distant planets to the intricately designed spacecraft, every detail feels meticulously crafted, immersing viewers in a rich and expansive universe. The attention to detail extends to the diverse cast of characters, each with their own motivations and backstories that add depth to the narrative. All right, so are they diverse? I guess like in a racial sense.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
We can go that way. With their own motivations. And backstory that add depth to that? No.
No.
There is no depth to add to their characters. The world building. What are your thoughts on the world building, Matt?
It's
I can give you a C on that.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a D because like he's got the ideas of it, but he doesn't. I feel like he's not interested in putting any work into building the world. It's more just like cool ideas.
Like me in this review idea. What truly sets Rebel Moon, The Scargiver apart, Matt, and wait for this, is its exploration of complex moral dilemmas and the nature of rebellion. I think I gotta excise that. That is not accurate. As the rebels grapple with the consequences of their actions and the sacrifices required for freedom, the film delves into themes of sacrifice, redemption, and the power of unity in the face of tyranny. In a very superficial way, if at all. Like when... What's her name? The lady who kills the spider lady. The mechanical cyborg spider.
Mm-hmm, sure.
When she goes... that's it. Donna Bay, who played Nemesis, the cyborg swords person there. When she goes saving the kids and the women and whatever... it's turned into this really kind of... It's supposed to be this really dramatic moment that feels entirely forced and artificial. And it is just... It made me angry how bad it was. Let's see. The performances in Rebel Moon, The Scargiver are nothing short of astounding. That's no. That is... no, we're getting rid of that. Lead actor / actress delivers a compelling portrayal. It's like... How does it not know who's in the film?
Well, that's very interesting. I don't know. I guess they didn't feed it into, the algorithm, that data.
But is it just search the web for stuff, or is it just search
they have to
information
feed it. It has. There's a cutoff of the information it has that's been input into it. Like if you ask it something that's after that date, it says, "Oh, I don't have any information after 2022 or whatever. Like I can't give you the details around that."
All right.
You know what would be interesting, Chris?
What's that?
After this, just for shits and gigs, you should ask it to write a negative review of Rebel Moon and see what it comes back with.
That's interesting. I did not tell it what angle to take. I just said write a review. That's interesting. It delivers, so lead actor or actress delivers a compelling portrayal of a reluctant hero thrust into battle for the fate of the galaxy, while the supporting cast brings their characters to life with nuance and authenticity. No, and not a lot of nuance, I'm going to say. We're almost done. Furthermore, the film's action sequences are breathtaking in their scale and choreography, keeping audiences on the edge of their seats from start to finish. Matt, was that your experience?
Not in the slightest. No. I was. Well, here I will say this: let's start off with the criticism sandwich, right? So let's start off with something a positive. It's not quite as bad as Rebel Moon, whatever the first one was. What was it called? The
Moonchild? I have no idea.
Yeah.
See, I disagree with you. I think this is more offensive.
You do?
I
do. So I obviously have not revisited the original Rebel Moon. So I can't say, but I found the first one to be
Child of Fire, by the way.
Child of Fire. I feel like that was worse than this.
Do I have to?
Nominally.
I don't see the word pretentious in this review anywhere. Sorry, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, nominally worse. I think this is slightly better, I guess. At least it's somewhat more focused, but as you said, characters are paper thin. The actors, some of whom are, decent actors, they can't seem to give any life to these characters at all. Snyder is like an even worse Michael Bay. Like, I get he's got a style, he's got a vision, and I guess I can respect that, but the man can't tell a story. He can't write a story to save his life. And he strikes me as somebody who you hire to, point your actors in the right direction, make visuals that could potentially be, quite stunning. I mean, he has some stunning visuals in a lot of his work, and he is capable of doing it, but man, when it actually comes to the storytelling part of a film, he is just not good at it.
No, not at all. So, Matt, whether it's intense space battles or pulse-pounding grounding skirmishes, the adrenaline-fueled moments are sure to leave a lasting impression. Now, I will say that's true.
It did leave a lasting impression.
Yeah, I'm not going to forget this anytime soon. Here's my favorite part. In conclusion, Rebel Moon the Scargiver is a triumph of storytelling and visual spectacle that will captivate audiences of all ages. With its compelling characters, stunning visuals, and thought-provoking themes, this is a science fiction filmmaking at its finest. You hear that, Ridley Scott? You hear that, Steven Spielberg? Don't miss your chance to experience this epic adventure on the big screen. So, I'll say that special effects wise, I do like that we get to see the nearby planets on the horizon or whatever. I think that's kind of a neat little visual effect. I think it's cool that they're trying to save space Amish people. I guess that's fine. I just don't get the point. It's like the whole thing's going. I had this whole thing. I was going to do a script, Matt, too, as well. I couldn't decide what skit thing I wanted to go with. This seemed easier, and that I wouldn't have to put any work on your part. I'll just pare it down to this. All right. Here's Zack Snyder. Let's have electric swords. And then somebody says, you mean lightsabers? No, electric swords that have a whooshing tail effect. That'll look cool. Like, that's what it is, right?
But didn't he envision this as being a Star Wars trilogy?
It was a proposal he made to Disney about making a series of Star Wars films. So maybe he's just adapting that stuff that he had intended to be lightsabers. But the big problem with the film is that there's no emotional connection in this film in any capacity. None whatsoever. And it's just more of the same. It's all flash and style, no substance. And if there is a third Rebel Moon film, I think we just move on. Part of me was like, maybe I thought the 4-hour version of the first one was supposed to drop at the same time as this, but I guess not. I looked for it, and at first I was like, well, check it out. Maybe it'll be like a weird Ridley Scott thing when his director's cuts are better when he makes a bad film, or at least a not as good film. But now, after watching this, I think I'm good.
I thought I read somewhere so I always like to look at the letterbox reviews when we get a film like this, and I thought somebody said that they were not going to release his director's cuts, and that's part of why a lot of people are like especially his fans are frustrated, because they know there's a lot more footage out there. There's something more that he wants to put out there, but it's almost like they're trying to replicate the whole Snyder cut thing. So, it sounds like that Netflix may not release them, or at least not release them anytime soon. But I also have to say, folks, if you want to go out there and get a good chuckle and see some delusional people out there, go look at the 5-star reviews for this and how much they think that Zack Snyder is one of the great filmmakers of all time.
I don't know why they wouldn't want to release it if the whole thing is to get people to watch and pay for Netflix. It's not like they have to do a lot of promotion and get stuff out there, right? Or get a theatricals and have to split the profits with the theaters or something like that, right? None of that's here. And supposedly, if the film's shot and done, unless he needs like another $100 million to finish the effects, if it's one of those scenarios,
right?
I'm sure what it may be is that they saw the numbers and are like, "Ooh, that's not going to be worth. That's not going to be worth that." But then I heard, did you hear about the latest thing with them turning down a Knight's Tale sequel because the algorithm said that it would not be successful?
Really? I did not hear that. Yeah. Well, I guess when you get outperformed by Chris Hemsworth in Extraction franchise, then I guess you're in trouble.
I think those things don't cost a lot to make either.
No, they don't.
Did they have a cost for Rebel Moon? Budget $166. Shared with Part 1. That's kind of a bargain for a Zack Snyder film, I think. $166 million. That's because the cast, though, is, you got not exactly knocking it out of the park with a lot of these names. Anthony Hopkins is just, zooming in his role. Man, what other waste that was. Sweet Pete.
Yeah.
Build that all up to be some crazy robot ninja guy, and it's just, here's like 6 minutes of him kicking some butt. Even then, it's not even that engaging.
Mm-mm. I was really disappointed about the crazy robot. I was really hoping I was going to get more of him.
Yeah, do you think it's harmed at all by it trying to be kind of for all ages? The cat gets decapitated at the end of this thing, and you don't see anything.
Not really. I don't think. I fail to see what making it incredibly graphic would bring us. It doesn't make it that much more interesting. I guess, if there was something particularly gratuitous, we probably would be like, oh, that was cool kind of thing. But that's about it. We'd still hate the movie.
It's funny too. I was flying out for a work conference, and I was watching John Wick Chapter 4 on the plane, and I remember the opening of that scene where they're in the Continental in is it Hong Kong? Is that they're in? I can't remember. And just the wave of bad guys keep coming and coming. I think that whole fight sequence is probably almost like 20 minutes, 25 minutes long. And the whole time, like every time a new wave of bad guys show up, I'm like, oh yeah, keep going. Just give me more. Give me more. I don't care if the whole movie is this. I'll take it. And this, when they have the wave of bad guys on the moon over and over again, I'm like, oh, come on. Really? We're going to do this again? Because we got to give the robot knight his moment. We got to give the lady with the Furiosa black eye makeup her moment. Right? It's just... I looked it up, Matt. TFR report card on the website, thefirstrun.com. Rebel Moon, Part 1, Child of Fire, C- for me, D for you. I am now going. Here's the thing. What did I give an F to? We gave a couple F's this year. Madam Web got an F, and Imaginary. So, I think I'd watch Imaginary before I'd watch this again. Does that mean I have to make this an F? Because I was sitting at a D.
Yeah. Which is funny, because I was sitting at like a D-. It was pretty bad. But I feel like I have to make this an F. Like, I feel like I have to retroactively make the old other one an F and make this a D- is what I feel like has to happen.
Yeah, because I don't... For all the potential promise that first film had, and I think it's too... I love the betrayal by Charlie Hunnam in there. There's little, there's little things that are kind of enjoyable-ish, but this one is it's just all too much and not an ounce of heart. So yeah, all right. I can get away with giving it a D, but the fact that if I look at Madam Web, which I would, if I had to choose between this and Madam Web,
I might watch Madam Web again before I watch this.
Yeah,
because Madam Web is hilariously bad, and there's like things that are like becoming funnier every time I think about how bad they are. Whereas this is, it's not only bad, it's boring, which is like the greatest sin.
Yeah, it's ponderous. It's ponderous, man. It's ponderous. All right, F it is. Done.
You know what? I guess I have no integrity because
give it a D. Go ahead.
I'm gonna give it a D minus, I guess. Yeah. That's what I was gonna give it because I literally thought I gave the first movie an F, and it blows my mind that I didn't give the first movie an F. But yeah, D minus.
All right. So even though you liked it more, it's got a lower grade.
Yeah, right. Because I can't.
It's retrospect too.
Yeah, I can't give it a D plus. That's just not right.
Look at me. 3 months later, or 2 months later, after telling you what my favorite film of 2023 was, I changed it.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So things change. You sit with it, and you never know where you're going to come around. Rebel Moon 2, I think that's more than enough. What's this one called again? Scargiver.
The Scargiver.
Currently streaming on Netflix in 4K if you're willing to pay for it. If you had a chance to see it, shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. Are we wrong? All you Zach heads out there, hit us up. Explain to me why you're wrong. I would love to hear from you. And then I'll read that on the air. And hell, I'll bring you on. We'll bring you on the show. We'll set you up. You come on and join us, and we can hash it out on the Rebel Moon-averse. If you want to explain to me why Sucker Punch is a masterpiece, whatever you want to do. If you want to tell me why 300 is one of the greatest films ever made, though still it totally misses the point of what the Spartan... Anyway, I'm not going to get into this. So let's go ahead and... what?
Do you hate this more than you hated Sucker Punch?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
Though it does have those really bad needle drops in Sucker Punch. Yeah, I think so.
I think as gratuitous and derivative as it is, I still really like that first fight with the giant like metal samurais. I think that's a fucking fun scene. So at least it's got that going for it.
It's got Jenna Malone, who I like a lot.
Yeah, I like her too. Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess so. Well, congratulations, Sucker Punch. You're a little bit
no longer on the bottom, not on the bottom of the heap anymore.
Yeah, there you go. Feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, let's talk about our 5 favorite traitors. Honorable mention for me. This actually is going to be my David Zaslav honorable, my honorary list for the man basically desperately trying to ruin one of the greatest and most storied movie production companies of all time. So you are a traitor to art, my good man, and that's why this list is named after you.
Nice guy. He tells me Joe wants to meet me. Says I should just hang in my apartment and wait for a phone call. Well, after waiting 3 goddamn days by the fucking phone, he calls me last night and says Joe's ready. He'll pick me up in 15 minutes.
Who all picked you up?
A nice guy. We get to the bar.
What bar?
Smoky Pete's in Gardena. We get there, and I meet Joe and a guy named Mr. White. It's a phony name. My name is Mr. Orange.
Mr. Orange?
Mr. Orange.
Okay, Mr. Orange. Have you ever seen this motherfucker before?
Who? Mr. White?
Yes, Mr. Orange. Mr. White.
No, he ain't familiar. He ain't one of Cabot's soldiers either. He's got to be from out of town. Joe knows him real good.
How can you tell?
The way they talk to each other. You can tell they're real buddies.
2 of you talk?
Who, me and Joe?
Mr. White.
A little.
About what?
Brewers.
Milwaukee Brewers?
Yeah. Apparently they won the night before. He made a killing off me.
This is sweet, man, because if this crook's a Brewers fan, his ass has got to be from Wisconsin. And I bet you everything from a diddle-dad Joe to a damned if I know that in Milwaukee they got a sheet on this Mr. White motherfucker's ass. So what I want you to do is to go through the mugs of all the guys from old Milwaukee with a history of armed robbery, put a name to the face. Nice work, man.
Thank you, my man.
That, of course, is a clip from Reservoir Dogs, Quentin Tarantino's first film, and Mr. Orange, technically a traitor, right? He betrayed his homies there to as their attempt to they rob the jewelry store, but he's really a cop the whole time. So there you go, Matt. Mr. Orange is an honorable mention for me. I'll start us off. I'll give you the ultimate number 1. My number 5 is going to be Dudley Liam Smith from L.A. Confidential. The police captain? And when he makes that one little slip, when he reveals the name of the one guy they're trying to track down, Rollo Tomasi, and everything kind of snaps into focus. And it's just one of those twists. And I guess this is a big, heavy spoiler episode, folks. I guess we should say, in case we haven't seen any of these movies. Maybe we should start it off that way. But yeah, so there you go. The LA Confidential, because that was one that I did not see coming. And since it caught me entirely by surprise, he's going to be my number 5.
All right, so my number 5 then. I mean, when I saw that this was the topic for our top 5, this character immediately leaped to mind. And it's hard for me to say favorite because he's a scumbag. He's a piece of shit, and I hate him every time I watch him. As soon as he's on screen, I hate him so much. I'm, of course, talking about Carter Burke in Aliens, who is the smarmy, slimy company man who wheedles Ripley into coming with them. And then, of course, starts seeing the dollar signs, and he immediately betrays everyone, in getting essentially everyone killed, plus himself, which he deserved. But, yeah, I hate Burke so much, that I had to put him on there. But I only put him at 5 because I hate him so much. I don't even enjoy him at all.
Interesting. Fair enough. My number 4, then, is probably going to be a little higher on Matt's list, or maybe not. Because he does turn around, and really the reason why he betrays his friends is because he's trying to help out the community that he's in charge of. And that's Lando Calrissian. When the Empire, when he betrays Han and Leia and Chewie to the Empire, because basically the Empire's going to leave him and his people alone, you kind of, I kind of get it, but you're still a jerk, man. And he does make up for it eventually by joining the Rebels and even pilots the Falcon in Return of the Jedi. I still don't quite understand why he's dressed like Han in Return of the Jedi. I don't know if maybe the Falcon has like a uniform mandate. I have no idea. But still, man, Lando's betrayal there, that one's a punch to the gut. So he's my 4.
All right. Yeah, honorable mention for me. I think just because he redeemed himself and he kind of was forced into it, but I get it. He was very close to being on my list. So my number 4 then is Joey Pants as Cypher in The Matrix, where he gives the kind of quintessential reasoning for why he betrays Morpheus and the rest of the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar by basically selling them out to the machines. Is that, you know what, he took the pill, he saw what the real world is, and he saw that it sucks, and he wants to go back in, and he doesn't care what he has to do because his comfort and his ignorance is all he could want. And it's Joey Pants does a fantastic job playing the kind of smiling villain, and he's great at it here.
Yeah, it's funny. The same reason why Burke is your 5, he's an honorable mention for me, because I can't stand him in that role. He's so effective in it that he annoys me, and I just couldn't put him on my list because of that, but he is clearly an honorable mention. My number 3, I think, is a bit of a dark horse. It may not immediately pop to mind, but when it comes just to sinister and potentially the ultimate betrayal, it's Guy Woodhouse, John Cassavetes, as the husband of Mia Farrow in Rosemary's Baby. He betrays his wife so he can become a successful stage actor to help basically bring the Antichrist into the world. And man, you want to talk about evil, wicked people. Guy Woodhouse, I think for me, would have to be at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's it's so self-serving. That's what makes it so insidious. It's like he does not give a shit about his wife at all. All he cares about is
gaslighting her the whole time too, and it's just when that reveal
so
comes and he's all in on it and stuff, and it's just like, what an evil guy.
Yeah. All right, so my number 3 is man, now I want to change it. So I'm going to move this one down because I need a minute here. So my number 3 then is, I think one of the most pathetic and understandable traitors that there is, which is Fredo Corleone, especially in Godfather 2. And I think what makes it so effective is because he is ultimately a gentle soul, and he doesn't really belong in this family. And he gets in and over his head. He tries to show that he's capable, and he's just not. He just can't do it. And you kind of can empathize with him. You can understand where he's coming from, and you just kind of cringe. Unlike a lot of these guys where you're kind of waiting for them to get their comeuppance. He's the train's coming down him, but he's just too, dumb or too lazy or just too meek to get out of the way. And it just ends up taking him out.
Yeah. Fredo's my 2. And the reason why he's my 2 and not my 1 is basically just what Matt said. His story is a sad story. He is not some vile, evil, vindictive guy. He is just constantly overshadowed by his brothers. His father is disappointed in him, and he tries to make things work. He goes out to Vegas to try and run, start everything up out there, screws everything up, and ends up having to kind of betray his family. And it's all out of weakness and just hurt and pain. And though it's one of the, if not the greatest portrayal in cinema history, it's also one of the saddest. So Fredo is my 2.
All right. So I don't know if this might be a stretch, but I'm going to throw it out there a little bit. But my number 2 is Toni Collette as Annie in Hereditary, where, she, after the events of what happened, if I haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to tell you. She obviously cannot stand the sight of her son, right? And understandably so. I mean, you hate to see it, but a parent is being put into this position of what happened. But then, especially with her mother and the way things change and the way things progress, it's that she's willing to sacrifice her remaining child for other needs that she has. I'm trying not to get too much into it, but just the fact that this betrayal of a mother against her own child, even one who did something that was horrible, but ultimately an accident, but still, she thinks is unforgivable that she kind of turns against him, which is rough.
That's interesting. I hadn't even thought of it that way. That's an interesting suggestion here, man. I like that pick. My number 1 actually was Matt's 5. It's Paul Reiser as Carter Burke. And the reason why he's my 1, A, is because I enjoy Aliens so much. I've seen that movie at least a couple dozen times. I used to pop that VHS in almost every week, maybe, when I was a kid, right? But the reason why Burke is a worse traitor than Fredo is that he's just... because he starts off and he comes off as this earnest, likable guy. Hey, I work for the company, but, I'm really a nice guy. Don't let that, right? And just the way he represents himself as trying to be on her side, Ripley's side, and everybody's side. But then when it comes down to it, when it's time to cash in, he's ready to let you get impregnated by an alien. So, it's just so slimy, like Matt said. There's a conscious decision that he goes through this whole thing and he masks how just evil he is throughout the whole thing until the end. So yeah, Burke's my 1. And it's an engaging, fun performance too.
No, it is.
Unlike Matt, it's in a weird way. It's a blast to watch him. So that's why he ended up being my 1. Out of all of them, on my 5, that's for me that he was the most watchable for me too. So that's why he inevitably was my 1.
Paul Reiser absolutely kills it as that role, and he's so successful at it that I fucking hate the guy when he's on screen, especially because I know what's coming. All right, so mine is a bit of a layup, and you know what? But I don't care. He's a cool cat. He is, as far as villains go, he's tip top ace for me. And I'm of course talking about Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader, who essentially betrays everything and everyone he's ever known. He attempts to kill his best friend, tries to fight him to his death, kills a bunch of 5-year-olds, and just basically is responsible for billions and billions of people's death. But goddamn, does he look like a badass while he's doing it. So he's just a cool, tragic villain. Unfortunately, I wish he'd kind of been developed a little bit better in the prequels, but still a classic traitor villain to the cause.
Yeah, I always kind of struggle with that, how he's able to get redemption at the end, and he's responsible for all of that death and destruction.
He shouldn't have been. He should have had to atone a little bit. Like, okay, he started on a step of atonement, but that doesn't, like, the Force just forgives you. Okay, you killed the one bad guy. You saved your son. That's okay for the, 30 billion people that you killed.
So, would Phantom Menace have worked a bit better, or that whole run, if he started out... I was pulling the clip the other week when I was getting the stinger for now that's pod racing, right? I had wondered, like, would it have been better if they started off at 13 or 14 instead of him being 8? Whatever they're supposed to be.
So I have been adamant since I've seen those films that what they should have done is they should just have gotten rid of the first 2 films and then made the third film and stretch it into a full trilogy, because that's really what the core is. Like, you don't really need to know that much about Anakin's background, right? But what's jarring about the films is he goes from being upset from killing Mace Windu while he's defending himself, right, to literally within 2 scenes he is murdering 5-year-olds without a second thought. Like, it just doesn't work. You kind of, that big shift, it needs to happen over that needs to be stretched out into 3 films. The whole he's a slave young, you can tell all the stuff you needed to do in a few flashbacks, some stories, some back exposition. You did not need those films.
But what about all the awesome trade dispute stuff, Matt?
You know what, as riveting as that is about trade disputes and the ethics of clones and all that kind of stuff. God, even the clone. Remember when they talked about the Clone Wars in the first one? You were like, man, that sounds cool as shit. And then that is what we got. Is what is that? Like, seriously?
Yeah. Well, you got 8 seasons of a show that's supposed to be reasonably good. I haven't seen any of it, but the Clone Wars.
Yeah. I haven't seen it either. Well, because it's. Yeah, the animated series is supposed to be really good, but it's kind of really geared towards kids. It's really got that kind of sensibility, and I just couldn't get into it.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right, honorable mentions, Matt?
So maybe a bit of a cheat since neither of these are true human intelligences, but Ash from Alien, obviously the traitorous android, and then HAL 9000 from 2001.
I had both of them on my list as well. I also had William O'Neill in Judas and the Black Messiah, the one who portrays Fred Hampton. You had mentioned Henry Hill in Goodfellas. Dennis Nedry, Jurassic Park, the guy who sneaks the DNA out there. Colin Sullivan, Matt Damon's character in The Departed. And then what I'm surprised you didn't mention, Saruman from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I did, but it's one of those things where, kind of like Jack Nicholson, where he seems evil from the get-go, or he seems crazy from the get-go. Like, Saruman seems like he's a bad guy immediately. Like, you never at once think that he's on your side.
Fair point. All right, folks, that's it. Those are our 5 favorite movie traitors. Who are yours? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. We'd love to know. Matt, what's coming up next week on The Big Shoe?
All right, so we're going to check out Boy Kills World, which I'll admit I was not super excited to see, but the H. John Benjamin narration really, really sells it for me.
Same
and Late Night with the Devil is available on Shudder, so we're going to stream it since we don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot of buzz. It's a bit of a what do the kids call it? A viral hit. So we'll have to check in and we'll let you know our thoughts on it. In the meantime, you can find us at thefirstrun.com. Find archives of all the old shows. The report card. Man, I got to update that. I think I'm about 6 weeks out again. And then what else? Is that everything? I think so. There's a little player there. There's a whole bunch of stuff. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you'll find us. I am actually on Blue Sky, though I'm never really interacting in there in any capacity, man. I got to do that at some point, too. And is that it? Shoot Apple Podcasts. Pop on over there, give us a review. It'll help other people find the show. And that's it. So we're going to go ahead and take an extended break. We love you all very much. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you soon.
Whatever the future holds.
We'll be ready. And you know the best thing about the future? It hasn't happened yet.